Maya sat at her usual corner table in the campus cafe, the one tucked neatly by the window where she could disappear into her own world. A half-empty cup of coffee rested beside her, long forgotten as she scribbled poetry in her worn-out notebook. The soft hum of conversations blended with the rhythmic clinking of cups, a comforting background noise that made it easier for her thoughts to flow. Outside, rain tapped gently against the glass, turning the world into a blur of gray and silver. These were the moments she cherished, just her words, and the quiet solace of being unnoticed. Until she noticed him. Ryan. He walked in, shaking off his damp jacket, droplets scattering onto the tile floor. His dark hair was slightly tousled, sticking to his forehead in places, but he didn't seem to mind. He flashed a bright, easygoing smile at the barista, who grinned back in recognition. He was a regular then. Maya had seen him before, always surrounded by friends, always laughing, always carrying himself with a quiet confidence that never crossed into arrogance. For a brief moment their eyes met. Maya's breath hitched, and she quickly looked away, her heart hammering in her chest. Her fingers gripped her pen tighter, as if that could steady her nerves. She buried herself back in her notebook, pretending she hadn't noticed, pretending that fleeting second hadn't made something inside her stir. Minutes passed, the rain growing heavier. Students huddled near the door, reluctant to step into the downpour. Maya barely noticed, lost in the lines of her poem, until a shadow fell over her table. "You can borrow this if you'd like." She looked up, startled. Ryan stood beside her, holding out an umbrella. "Oh," she stammered. "No, I'm fine." He tilted his head slightly, as if studying her. "Are you sure? Looks like it's going to rain for a while." He smiled, and for some reason that smile felt like sunshine breaking through the storm. Maya hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, thanks." She reached out, taking the umbrella with a shy smile. Ryan gave her a small nod before turning to leave, his hands slipping into his pockets as he walked away. That's when she noticed it. Notebook. Left behind on the table where he'd been standing. Maya glanced around, debating whether she should return it right away. But curiosity gnawed at her. Slowly, hesitantly, she flipped it open. Her breath caught. Poem. Beautiful, raw, deeply personal. Each word described her. The way her hair fell over her face when she was deep in thought, the way her eyes wandered when she was lost in her own world. Could it be about her? Her heart pounded as she closed the notebook and hurried outside, the cold rain forgotten. She spotted Ryan by the bus stop, drenched, water dripping from his jacket. "You forgot this," she called out, holding up the notebook. Ryan turned, his face lighting up with surprise. "Wow, thanks. I didn't even realize." For a moment, Maya considered asking about the poem. The words were on the tip of her tongue. But doubt crept in, stealing her courage. "I'll see you around," she said instead, tucking the notebook into his hands before turning to leave. Days passed. Maya couldn't shake the memory of that poem, nor could she bring herself to ask Ryan about it. She saw him on campus, in the library, at the cafe, but she never found the right moment, never found the right words. Then, one afternoon, Ryan approached her as she sat alone in the library. "Hey, about that notebook," he said, leaning slightly against the table. "I kind of owe you one." "You don't owe me anything," she replied with a small smile. "Well," he grinned, "maybe you could come to our book club meeting this Friday. Consider it a trade." Maya hesitated, but the thought of spending more time with him, of maybe getting closer, was too tempting to resist. "Sure," she said. That Friday evening, Maya found herself laughing more than she had in months. Ryan had a way of making people feel at ease, drawing them in with his warmth and humor. The way he listened, the way he made her feel seen, it was unlike anything she had experienced before. With each conversation, Maya felt her walls slowly slipping away. One night, after a long study session, their hands accidentally brushed. Neither of them moved for a moment. "You okay?" Ryan asked softly. "Yeah, I'm good," she whispered. But her mind raced with questions. Was he just being kind? Did that poem mean anything at all? Then, one morning, the answer seemed to come unexpectedly. While waiting in line for coffee, Maya overheard two students whispering behind her. "I heard Ryan's been crushing on Emily for months now." Maya froze. Emily. So the poem wasn't about her. The warmth she had felt, the hope, the quiet thrill, suddenly turned cold. She convinced herself it was better this way. And so she pulled away. She stopped going to book club meetings, ignored his messages, and avoided him on campus. Each time she saw him, her heart ached, but she told herself it was better to forget. One evening, while working her shift at the campus bookstore, she heard someone clear their throat behind her. She turned. Ryan stood there, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this," he said, offering one to her with a hopeful smile. Maya forced a polite nod. "Thanks, but I'm kind of busy." "You've been busy a lot lately," Ryan said softly. "Did I do something wrong?" Her eyes flicked away. "No. I just figured you had other things going on." "Like what?" "Like Emily." Ryan blinked, clearly confused. Then after a beat he smiled. Not the teasing kind, but something softer. "Maya, that's not true." "But I heard. People say a lot of things," he cut in gently. "But none of them know how I spent weeks trying to find the courage to talk to you." Her heart stuttered. "The poem," she whispered. "It was about you." Her face heated. "I didn't know. I guess I just assumed." "Well," Ryan said, smiling, "now you do." And for the first time in weeks, Maya laughed. A quiet, nervous laugh, but genuine. "I feel so ridiculous." "You shouldn't," Ryan said. "I mean, I've done some pretty embarrassing things just to get your attention." That evening they walked together across campus, the tension finally gone. And over the next few weeks, their bond deepened. Late-night conversations, shared coffee dates, the way he always seemed to know when she needed silence, or when she needed to laugh. For the first time in a long while, Maya felt like her life was falling into place. But happiness has a way of being short-lived. One evening, she came home to find her parents sitting at the kitchen table, their faces grim. "We need to talk," her mother said. Her father exhaled. "We're moving back home." Maya's world collapsed. When she told Ryan, his fingers tapped restlessly against his knee. "Maya, I don't want you to go." "I don't want to go either," she admitted, voice breaking. She began to pull away again. Saying goodbye felt too hard. But Ryan didn't give up. On her last night, he stood outside the bookstore waiting. In his hands was a note. "I meant every word," he said. "I'll wait for you. No matter what." And as Maya drove away, she held on to that note. Weeks passed, then months, and one day she finally called. His voice felt like home.